Hello. We're back again. Thought it was over, still not over, don't know what's going on, but welcome back. So, this episode I had already written the day that it was announced that they settled. Well, almost completely. I still I was still working on I think Christy and Liz Plank or Claire and Liz Plank, that's what it was. And yes, that is Jenny on the top. And she was being absolutely disgusting in that video. It was disgusting. But anyway, yes, totally pawns in the scheme. So since I had already done almost all of the work with it, I thought I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So this is still, this was still the motions in Lemonade because we had that great unsealing, the second coming, I call it. And there was a lot of interesting stuff in there that we hadn't seen before. And now the Wayfarers went ahead and filed on Monday their their final filing on that, which I thought was interesting. And so there was some new stuff in that too. So I went ahead and threw some of that in here. Not all of it. I haven't gotten through all of it, but I went ahead and put a few things that related to these people. But yeah, someone had said pawns. They were it absolutely pawns. And I think I don't want to say that Isabella, I don't want to put Isabella in there with the rest, and maybe not even Jenny, but the others, I felt like they all wanted some kind of control that they weren't getting, and they got angry. And we're going to get through all of that. Jenny, I think it just went with I think she's probably not a very nice person. And as soon as Blake started gossiping to her, she chimed in, and we can see because there were new text messages between them released, and we could see that every little thing she was running to Jenny and telling her, "Oh, he did this, oh, he did that." She even mentioned about the so-called the supposed conversation in the car with her driver. This was all just stuff that she kept feeding to all of them just to keep everybody believing the absolute worst in these guys. So when you're constantly hearing that stuff about somebody and it's coming from someone that you like, you want to be friends with, or you are friends with, your tendency is oftentimes to believe. And this should teach us a lesson, a pretty big lesson about not going along with what someone tells us about someone else when we haven't witnessed it for ourselves, because that's exactly what happened here. Isabella had a great relationship with him. We saw the video clip, it goes through my mind from time to time, where during that time that her and Alex were filming, um, she came in for a hug, and it was Justin who blocked the hug. He did a high five instead, and she kind of held on to his hand and seemed like she still was coming in for one. And he kind of shifted his body, not in a rude way, but just kind of he hug blocked her, if that's a word. He totally did. And so but you could see, I mean, if she were truly so uncomfortable by him, why was she the one going in for a hug? She wasn't just receiving an unwanted hug from a person. She was the one attempting the hug. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't think she was trying to get control. I think she got caught up in, oh my goodness, Blake's my friend. Oh, Blake's having me for sleepovers and taking me out to dinner. I'm being seen with this person. It was yeah, high five block. That's a good one, Gloria. Um, So I don't, she, I feel like was different, but I feel like the rest of them, it was a power struggle, and it was a hug plug. You guys are so funny. A hug plug. Yeah, Gloria says, I was subject of a smear campaign like this, and it has long-standing damages to me and my reputation. You never get away from it. I think a lot of us have had false accusations, some more private, some more public, and it's difficult because you can choose to fight back, and then you look guilty too. I mean, you don't make a great impression yourself, or you can choose to be quiet and just hope that people can see the actions. of all the parties involved and sort it out later. It's a really, really terrible situation to be in. So I think we can get some lessons out of this for our own lives and the things that we deal with. So the reason it's 7 is this came directly from the motion by Ezra. But before we get into that, and just to give everybody's names, and I'll keep their faces with them because some of these are not people that we're used to seeing and don't always recognize by the face. So it's Jenny, Isabella, Colleen, Claire. She's the one who they claimed she had this like dynamite evidence, this illegal recording of Steve Sarowitz and what he all the threats that he made against Blake, and it turned out to be just shout out again to the Clark guy from Reddit who goes and gets the stuff. He went and got the stuff and shared it on Docket Updates. Shout out to Carol and her fabulous Docket Updates website. It's sad that she didn't get her timeline done before this all wrapped up. But he made that available and we all got to hear it. And it was nothing like what they had said, which is no surprise. We saw that happen time after time in this case. But that's Claire up on the right. And then the next one is Christy Hall. She is the script writer that Blake took her work and absolutely destroyed it. And for some reason, she still kind of turned against Justin. It's really weird. Alex is the assistant director who wanted to be the director and outright said it. And then we have Liz Plank, and I didn't just want her face because to me, this little short that she did or reel from her Instagram is so disgusting and to me says so much about her. She said that she's touching men's waists because men do it because men can't stop touching ours. And she goes through a crowded event and goes up behind these men and grabs them. This guy, she grabs his butt. I hope she knew this guy and didn't just do that to a stranger. But she said she did this. Now, if you are calling out bad behavior, the absolute worst thing you can do is participate in the very behavior that you're calling out, because that just makes you a hypocrite. So she's like, well, I'm going to do this because men do it all the time. Lady, what did you prove except that you're gross, that you're doing the behavior you're calling people out for doing? And so she walked, and the men's reactions, they were all startled. Some of them looked angry. Some of them were no doubt married or had their partner there and were wondering who this woman was that kept coming up behind him and grabbing on their bodies. Like this does not make the point that you think it's making. I don't know what you're trying to do with this, but it's really immature and just really gross, very, very off-putting. And because of that, like that was my introduction to her. I'd never heard of the woman before. And after this video, I will never support her or watch anything that she does because that was gross. And it's still up on her Instagram. Like she's proud of it. It's so stupid. But yeah, so these are the people. These are the people that we're going to talk about. And the reason it's these particular 7, it's not like this complete list of all the people who wronged anybody. It's you'll see, we'll get to it. But I wanted to put this up because earlier on Court Listener, I saw that there was something that said pre-trial conference final, and that's all it said. So I went ahead and paid the 10 cents on Pacer, and this is what it was. This is not something new. This is old. So it's the minute entry for proceedings held before Judge Lewis, final pretrial conference held on April 28th, 2026. So this is not something that's upcoming. This was the final one that they had. So it's an entry for that. So it's weird because it still says like to proceed to trial on May 18th. Let's see, the court, let me just read it. So it lists all of the attorneys' names and says The court heard argument from both parties regarding the pending motions with respect to damages, Daubert motions, admissibility of evidence as to the Wayfarer party's lawsuit as a retaliatory act. So that would have to do with 47.1, and the issue of bifurcation, which is like the splitting of the cases. All arguments taken under advisement on all issues, decisions reserved by the court. Daubert hearing set for May 5th, which was yesterday at 9:30, which it was supposed to be Friday. But so they're still going ahead with some of the stuff. And then it says jury trial to proceed on May 18th, 2026 at 9 a.m. So nothing has been completely decided, it seems like. And I don't know if you guys saw Hot Mics with Billy Bush. Um, but yeah, this is from the 28th, but filed today. But it's weird because it says that this hearing is set for May 5th, and that wasn't supposed to be until this, what was it, the 8th? Friday, this coming Friday, I thought, right? But so this was put on the docket and everybody's like, "Oh, it's final. Oh, okay, it is settled." But the thing is, this is not new. This is not a new conference. This is talking about the one that was held on April 28th for what it's worth. So, nothing. I don't know if they had that hearing yesterday. I don't know what is what's happening. But it doesn't seem like anything's complete. But the hot mics with Billy Bush, it just abruptly cut, which was very strange, and they never came back on. So, but he was talking about, and he talked a little bit more about settlement stuff on that one that he did, that I saw of any others. I don't know how many he did in total, but just the ones that I saw. That's the one that he spoke the most about the settlement. But he made a statement, and I posted on my community tab, that there is a statement and there is intent to settle, but there is not yet a settlement. So there were still things that they were working out. We are talking about a woman who never signed her contract. We are talking about a woman who wanted to go to the Met Gala and was probably scared to go there without some kind of hype behind her. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what if this was all arranged to be announced so that she could have some support for her Met Gala appearance and then go back to this and be like, psych, we don't agree to this? You know, at this point, I would not be the least bit shocked by that. Oh, not actually Golden pulled it up and there's a hearing tomorrow. Fine. I think she talked about this on from Court Listener, but I pulled it up on Pacer, which it hits Pacer first. And this was it. This was all that was there, and this is not new. So yeah, I think May 5th might have been a typo. Or did I have it wrong? Did I have the date wrong? I thought it was Friday and I was planning to go, but I might have had the date wrong. So yeah, John Walker says may not be over. And I don't know how many of you guys follow Ashley Brianna Eve, but she's been saying stuff, and I'm telling you, that woman is never wrong. Don't ever think she's wrong, because I've yet to see her be wrong. But it's also very, very strange. Yeah, the experts was going to be on Friday. That's what I thought. That's the Daubert hearing. But here he says May 5th. And yeah, I was going to go for that. So it's weird. But I felt like, what if it was so they could announce this so that there would be some hype around her for her Met Gala appearance, and then they pull the rug and do what she did about her contract. Wouldn't that be wild? I mean, it's a stretch. It would be an absolutely insane thing to do, but the very weird thing is what Ashley's been talking about, is that, there has not been a peep out of Blake's team. Not one peep. Not her PR people, not her attorneys. And I've shown you guys the rules on 2 separate episodes that attorneys that are in a case, that are working currently in a case, they can make announcements to the public after big events happen in the case. Well, coming to terms with some kind of settlement is a big thing. That's why Brian Friedman was able to speak, and yet they haven't. It's very bizarre to me. But yeah, so this thing that showed up on Court Listener is not new. It's this old. It's just about the conference that was held on the 28th. The one that was, like, not announced or anything. So it's really weird. Yeah, Ryan posted something, but nobody else that I've seen. If you guys seen something and I'm wrong, let me know. So Trish has a theory that she's gonna pull the rug with a target on the CCs who were planning to go. Yeah, do you think Dahmer likes rug pulls? Not that was the best footnote of the whole case. Not that we're calling her Jeffrey Dahmer. God, I love Ellen. She's so amazing. But, ah, that's what you mean. Trish or, Mary backs up Trish and says, "I've been saying since it dropped, I think it's a farce to get all the CCs to cancel their trips and then be like, 'Never mind,' because she just wants the court empty." Well, I think, Bocce, well, last I heard, I haven't seen her for a couple of days, but on the day of the settlement, announcement, Bocce found that she couldn't get out of her flight, and so she was gonna go ahead and go. I can't remember now what Lauren said and what, Elsie said. I think they're all still going last I heard, unless something has changed. What is it? Several of them are still going. Oh, Bocce isn't going. Okay, I haven't seen her for a couple days. The last time I saw her was on the settlement announcement day. So she was still, like, trying to sort it. So Lauren's still going, Elsie's still going. Okay. Yeah, so I guess that didn't work. But yeah, so that was weird, but just to let you guys know that, cuz I saw a lot of people mentioning that little post, and on Pacer it was like 3 words. It was like pretrial conference final, I think is all that it said. It didn't have all this that they usually put in there. So I went to Pacer to see, and this is what they have. So, yeah, very odd indeed. And then the Wayfarer file that was due on Monday, they still filed. So, I guess in the event that something went wrong, they wouldn't be counted late and not be able to turn it in, just in case. But it's interesting. The woman who never did sign her contract. Oh, that would be awful, Kenny. If they made Bocce cancel and then go ahead, and then she's got to book a ticket, and they get more expensive when you book it last minute. And now they're talking. I saw yesterday on Instagram that a bunch of flights are being canceled. In fact, I was supposed to go to Amsterdam not yesterday. What day? I forgot what day. Tuesday. And my flight was canceled, but they're canceling a bunch of them because the fuel, it's not just the cost, but it's the shortage of it all. So these people have booked their tickets a long time ago when before the fuel got crazy. And now the fuel prices are crazy, and so they're probably losing a lot of money. I don't know that he had a deadline. He can rule on it whenever, but it's just it's weird, to say the least, that her attorneys haven't said anything. The other weird thing is, wait, I think I put it at the end, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it now. Sorry, guys. Get this sorted while we're talking off subject stuff. So this is the Jed Wallace case, and I talked about this on settlement day too. That this case is still open because Blake did file a motion to dismiss, and it was granted, but they appealed it, and now we have her group of attorneys. So far, it's just been this Laura Prather that's been filing the stuff there, because there's not a whole lot that's been filed, especially on Blake's side. It's been mostly from Jed Wallace's side. But look, these are the three attorneys that have just joined. And it's Michael Gottlieb, Kristen Bender, and Aaron Nathan. There's no Ezra so far. I thought that was weird. Has Ezra had it? Has Manat had it? Because they're involved in Van Zandt and didn't want to bring that there. Like, what's going on? What's going on? Because Jed Wallace has his own case, and he can use this discovery, and he can use Van Zandt, because he was put into the New York Times newspaper by Blake Lively, and she had access to his text messages because of Van Zandt. So Manette might not want involved in it. I don't know. Maybe she just hasn't filed yet. But this was just granted yesterday, but they filed for it before that. And it's interesting. What, I don't know what this means. You mean what she pulled up about the that hearing? Because yeah, export CSV, you always see that on top of Court Listener, but they get their stuff after Pacer. It comes to Pacer first. Pacer is the federal government website to get all this stuff. So this thing I just showed you here is what they have, and I just grabbed it right before he came on. So I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Unless she just went live in like the last 10 minutes. Oh, is Ricardo leaving? Okay, let me see. Thank you, Ricardo. Hi, Miss Cass. Hi, lovelies. Love to everyone. Have a great day, Ricardo. If you can't, did he say he can't stick around? And Justin Smotherman, also, thank you so much. Blake told Beauty Crew she saw. Yes, she did tell them that. And it came out in the messages, Natasha Heath Crowning. And we know she did not. It's an underwater birth, first of all. And now that all the evidence came through and we saw that the experts got to view that video, and none of it ever came into evidence, so obviously it did not exist. We knew that, though, because it was a very deep tub and she was underwater, so none of that happened. She's just a liar. Okay, so this is why it's the 7. So this is what that document, how it opened. And if you're just now joining, I saw the number just went up. So this isn't a new document. This is the episode I was working on when the settlement was announced, which now, like, we're like, is there a settlement? Is there not a settlement? What's going on? But I'd already mostly written it. So I went ahead and I wanted to just go ahead and do it, since I'd put like 3 days worth of work in it. So this is back to Ezra's filing her opposition to Wayfarer's motion in limine, this is all of the evidence they were trying to exclude. And so she's trying to fight against that exclusion, saying that these 7 women have direct knowledge of Baldoni and Heath's conduct and that their testimony is not irrelevant. And then they're not trying to get rid of it because it's irrelevant. They're trying to get rid of it because it's powerful. And that their limine motion rests on the false premise that the evidence is not relevant to Lively's retaliation claims, but it plainly is. But she's wrong. It is not. This is them trying to still get in that bad character evidence that is not admissible by several rules of federal evidence or federal rules of evidence. And they were still fighting to keep this in. So they're saying that it's Wayfarer's false narrative, that Lively orchestrated others on the film to turn them against Justin. Well, we'll see about that. Justifying the smear campaign, the non-existent smear campaign, as a reasonable defensive measure. Even the judge has already said that, Ezra, that they had a right to defend themselves. He referred to it as defense. So 3 collateral effects of that retaliatory campaign, or was it just they did stupid stuff and you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes? On other women associated with the film, and excluding this testimony would allow defendants to offer unchallenged, self-serving testimony at trial about the events that prompted the entire cast to decline to appear alongside Baldoni at the film's premiere. So we're going to go through what she has as exhibits for this motion, and we're going to see who's right about these claims. And I'll give you a hint. It's not Ezra. Defendants intend to introduce or evidence that directly support Lively's claims. It doesn't. So delusional. So delusional. Okay, and so we get to these 7 women. I've already introduced them to you. The first thing I want to say is Christy Hall, because she's the one I think we probably know the least about. But Christy Hall had been signed to this movie. Let me check my notes real quick to see, because I wrote this a few days ago, so I don't want to miss anything. Oh, back to this is why I had their pictures. None of these women chose to be plaintiffs in this case. Any of them could have. Any of them could have said, it was really, really bad. We went in on this with you. But Jenny Slate, when she was asked about it, she said that she had voiced her concerns and she felt they were handled. So, okay, Bella, thanks for the hint. So she didn't want anything to do with the lawsuit. Isabella was hiding and then didn't she file it? Am I imagining this, or did she file a motion for sanctions because they tried to subpoena her? None of these other women stepped up and said, yes, sign me up. I want to be a plaintiff in this case. None of them. A lot of them were never even deposed. Some of them never made it to the witness list. So how is it that she's dragging them into it now? If these were such important witnesses and she deposed 50 people, why weren't all of these women deposed? It's so nuts. But we also see her speaking to these women and telling them bad stuff to convince them that Justin was the devil. Absolutely manipulating their opinions of him, telling them things that they did not witness for themselves. So it's hearsay to them. They can't come on and say, oh yeah, this happened. They didn't see it happen. Even things that Ezra tried to claim Jenny Slate witnessed. We see in the text messages, no, she didn't. Blake told her about it later. Isabella didn't witness any of it. Blake told her about it later. Alex Sachs, same thing. Blake told her about this stuff. The lady in the beige romper is Alex Sachs. She is one of the assistant directors. The one who said that Justin should be taken off the movie and she should be the director. So then let's see. Yeah, Isabella made opposite comments till she got cozy with Blake, even admits her opinion changed after hearing other people talk. She says that in her deposition. Claire is just a liar, has nothing to do with this set, is not listed as a witness, was not deposed, and illegally recorded Steve Sarowitz. Liz made an appreciation video for Justin for his birthday, talking about how great it's been all the time that she worked with him. Do you guys know how many years she worked with him on that podcast? 4 stinking years. 4 years. How'd that happen if he was so awful? Okay, she had nothing to do with the set. She wasn't there. Blake sent her messages and she's like, "Oh, that's awful. Oh man, do you need me to come here?" None of it was her. They're like, "Liz Plank said blah blah blah." And then you look through the whole thing and you're like, "Where did she say that?" No, she didn't. She reacted to the stuff that Blake was telling her. It's very, very bizarre. Alex Sachs said Justin slammed a table, but was useless as far as answering any other questions because she couldn't seem to remember anything. Colleen admits she was asked to unfollow Justin by Blake, something that Blake denied in her deposition. The manipulation is clear. She was also only on the set once or twice. There's so much to say about her. We're going to get to all of that. So sorry, guys, I missed that when I passed my notes. So Christy Hall was added as a writer to a movie that's supposed to star Blake called The Husband's Secret. Blake was added to it in 2017. So 9 years ago, she was cast in this movie. She was the only one cast in this movie. And then they have the writers. They don't really have much else on here. But they signed Christy on in 2022. So just the year before they started filming this movie. So she knew she was going to have to, or was thinking she was going to have to turn around and make another movie with Blake. She probably felt like she wanted to keep some peace there, knowing she was going to be with this woman again, and that this woman was probably going to take her script and destroy it again. Thank you so much, Kay Bella. Not Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's Blake and the Seven Devils. I really should have changed the title to that. I really should have. Oh, sorry. I've been so wore out lately, just really run down. I'm just yawning so much. Okay, let's see. The one funny thing about this is that it was supposed to be distributed under CBS Films and Sony. So how big a chance do you think there is for this movie to ever be made? You really think Sony's going to turn around and take the same writer and Blake and make this movie after all this mess? I think it's extremely unlikely. But just having that knowledge that Christy, in her mind, was going to be making another movie with Blake very soon, something she had just signed up for the year before. Okay, so here's Ezra's claim that defendants begin from a distorted and incomplete amount of the testimony they seek to exclude. By selectively minimizing, fragmenting, and at times misstating that testimony, they attempt to repackage highly probative corroborating evidence as a collection of isolated and insignificant other bad acts. That is simply wrong. And so she puts the whole things in here. And so we got to read the whole things in here. And guess who was right? Wayfarer. Okay, so Jenny Slate is an eyewitness, she claims, who experienced sexually harassing and gendered conduct from Beldoni and Heath on set. Keep in mind that the only conduct that she ever mentioned about Jamie was when Jamie gave her $15,000 to get a different Airbnb and said he wanted to do it because he had so much respect for mothers, and Jenny had a very young infant, I don't know how old, with her for the filming, and so he wanted and for that, he's described here as not just Justin, but the same accusation is being made here. Yeah, this is live. The same accusation being made here of sexual harassment and gendered conduct. She's laying blame on Jamie Heath for saying that he respects mothers and handing this ungrateful sicko $15,000 to get a better apartment. Why couldn't she make her own living arrangements? He didn't have to do that. And this is what he gets for doing it. He gets labeled a sexual harasser and someone who treats women with gendered conduct. Gendered conduct is centered around discrimination. How did he discriminate? He gave her something that nobody else got and complimented her, which any other mother, probably except for Blake, probably would have felt very, very grateful for that and very understood and respected for him doing that, but not her. He gets called a sexual harasser and a man who treats women differently and poorly and discriminates. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But yeah, that's what I asked my husband. I'm like, do you think I'm like coming down with something, or could it be this case? Makes me feel It's making me feel not well, because I honestly felt not well. I wanted to do this a couple of days ago, and then I thought, well, I'll do it yesterday, and just wasn't up to it. And so it just I'm like, could it really be that? Could it just feel like this is just awful? Because I fought with people on X because I put out like my own post, what I wanted to say. And there's always these people who come and have to say something nasty on your post. And then so many of the Blake people, then you come back with something that makes sense that they can't refute and they just block. But then this other person just stayed this back and forth and back and forth. And I was like, nope, not today. I'm not gonna let you in. And so I just fought with them all day and finally they stopped. But like they have the same lines, every single one of them, the exact same lines. And they're always so wrong. They got the same misinformation. And then finally when you get all that correct information to them, then they block you or they just go away finally. But yeah. But yeah, we were being called bots and everything because we had lots to say to defend that this settlement did not mean that she won and she did not walk away with a bunch of money, and that the newspapers, as always, have been getting it wrong. You too, Kimberly? Yeah, I think we all feel a little bit of ugh. Yeah. So so she says that Jenny was an eyewitness, right? Let's go to Jenny's oh shoot, I forgot to get the videos ready. Forgot I had videos lined up for this. Well, we'll just talk about them because I think we've all seen them by now. So this is Jenny describing a scene. She says, we were, in my memory, getting ready to shoot, and Blake and I and Justin were on set. And he mentioned that she looked, I can't remember the order of it, but sexy, and then hot, or hot, and then sexy, or that her look was sexy or hot. And I remember her saying something like, "That's not what I'm going for." And then he tried another modifier, either hot or sexy. Again, I forget the order. And I remember her saying something like, "Not that either." Justin seemed that he didn't like that I said that because he sort of like walked away in a huff and then came back and said something like, "The reason why I use the word hot is because it's hot in here." So that was the situation as I remember it. And they ask, did you believe him? And she says, "No." I've shown this video before and I put captions to it for what you can hear, and you see him telling her, and the look on his face, he's not ogling her. He's looking at her like, "It is stupid hot in here. There are a million people in here. We're wearing fleece onesies." He has the top of his fleece like hanging down. He's just in a t-shirt, and she's in her fleece and a coat. And he's like, he wants her to take the coat off because it's ridiculous. They're supposed to be at a bar, and they're supposed to be, the whole scene is centered on that you wear these onesies and you get this free drink. And so they're all in onesies. And he's like, "Take off the stupid coat." And he looks irritated with her. Like, I can't believe it. And you can read his lips. I captioned it all. He's like, "But you're gonna get hot." And he's like, "Are you comfortable?" And this kind of conversation, and he does not storm off. He does not storm off. That's a lie. Okay. So, what else does she say? So she's asked, "Why is that?" She says, "Well, I was there. I heard the descriptor used in the context that it was used," because this is why she's saying she doesn't believe. "How did you understand Mr. Baldoni's comment to Miss Lively?" "I understood his comment to that it was about her appearance." "Did you feel that it was about her character or her?" "I felt that it was about her body." He was talking about her clothes. This is so. "Did you come to understand how Miss Lively interpreted Mr. Baldoni's comment and at some point?" "Yes." "And when was that?" "Later that day." And so they go back to the text chain. "What about these incidents Miss Lively described to you made you feel that they were inappropriate?" She says, "Invasion of privacy, calling someone's trainer to find out their body weight." Unprofessional emotional expression. So this tells you right here that whatever she experienced on the set a couple hours previously would have been completely altered by the text conversation that she had afterwards, where Blake is obviously not just talking about what happened there, but she's filling Jenny's head with these other things. This, "Oh, he asked how much I weigh." And that argument or that complaint has always been so stupid to me. It's much more obvious that the guy is trying to figure out how much he has to be able to lift, exactly like he said. And that's why he asked the trainer, because he wanted the trainer to help him prep for that scene so that he didn't injure himself or drop her and injure her, because then we would have a whole other lawsuit, or not be embarrassed. And why do people think it's such a big deal to keep your weight secret? It doesn't change what you look like. You weigh what you weigh and you look like what you look like. It's not like you can look like you weigh 170 pounds and tell people I weigh 140 and people are going to believe it. They're going to look at you and go, "No, you don't." The reasons that he needed it were so specific to what he was talking about, and it makes so much more sense, his version of it. Okay, now we go back to the document. Um, then it says about Jenny's experience, Lively personally observed and discussed with Slate during filming. Slate independently decided not to promote the film with Baldoni or Heath based on how she had been treated. Or We saw how Slate felt about the public. Remember, she was getting upset because when they were filming out on the streets and stuff, like outside the flower shop, Justin would go and talk to the fans, and Jenny was like, "I hope he doesn't expect me to do that because I'm not going to do that." Maybe Jenny Slate didn't want to go do the promotions, and I want to talk about that later, Jane, for sure. I saw the Nancy Grace thing, and I was really, really mad about that because it was absolute clickbait. She put the title. I thought it happened. I was freaking out when it wasn't. It was just like their perspectives of it. I was so mad. Anyway, back to oh no, I lost myself. Hold on. Oh, maybe because even after, so they're like, fine, we're gonna do separate marketing, and Justin's gonna do his own marketing. And even though it was just them, how many times did you see Jenny Slate with show up with Blake and everybody else? No, Justin, he wasn't there. Why didn't she show up? But like 1 or 2 times. Maybe she just didn't want to and use this as an excuse. I mean, there's a lot of reasons people do the stupid things that they do. Okay, back to her deposition now. Going back to the text chain in Miss Lively's response to you, she says in the second line, "I'm sorry for what you've experienced." Look what Blake says. "I wish I would have been there to witness it for you." Do you even look at what your evidence is when you write your documents, Ezra? Because Ezra goes, "Lively personally observed." And then she's like, "I wish I would have been there to witness it for you." Such a contradiction. These people just are bold face liars. Was Miss Lively not present when Mr. Baldoni made the sexy comment to you? I don't remember her being there. But Ezra saying, "Oh, my exhibits here are going to show you that Wayfarer has taken things out of context, but Blake actually personally observed this." Is she hoping the judge doesn't read the actual exhibits and just believes her? Because this directly contradicts that. Did you talk about that comment in your conversation with her in the trailer on May 23rd? And she says, "I must have." So that's how Blake knew about it. She didn't witness it. She was told about it. It's all hearsay. And the sexual harassment was all completely dropped. I mean, that was dismissed. It was done. Yep, because it's happened so many times in this case. Okay. Now this is how those text messages went. Look at the manipulation of this. She is altering Jenny's memory and Jenny's perceptions of what happened. You were standing sorry. You were standing there for the thing he said to me when he said I look hot. I said, "That's not what I'm going for." And he said, "Okay, sexy." And then made a joke once he asked if he crossed a line, and I said yes, that he must have missed the sexual harassment meeting. So, is that really what happened? Because Jenny does, when she was asked to describe the events of everything, she wasn't super clear, but she remembers this stuff that Blake said to her in a text. It's interesting. Going and now, let's see. Now this is the like the cross-examination of Jenny. So, and they come back to this situation again. This is Mr. Schuster. Going back to the occasion when Justin referred to Blake as sexy or hot and then sexy, was that during filming or as something was about to be filmed? In my memory, it was like start of the day and like setting up a shot, like getting ready to rehearse, something like that. We've all seen it. They were just about to shoot the scene. And where physically did that scene take place? Was that in an office? Was that on a studio? She says it was in a bar. Do you recall that bar being particularly hot at the time? I don't know. Maybe. You could see it. Not only that, we see Julie Bloom, the one that gets fired shortly afterwards, talk about how she says it in a funny way. Instead of saying it's so sweaty in here, she goes, "It's so sweaty." Um, and she's fanning herself. You can tell by looking at it that it's hot. It's chaotic and hot. And she's like, "I don't know, maybe." Okay, do you recall what Blake was wearing? Listen to how great this woman's memory is. I remember that she was in her, like, own clothes, not wardrobe. The whole point of the scene and all of Blake's complaint is that she took her coat off and her onesie was unzipped way down. And this woman's recall is that they were getting ready to rehearse or, like, something, and that Blake was wearing her own clothes. She totally forgot it was a onesie. How in the world are we even here? Do you remember if she was wearing a jacket? In my memory, it was like some sort of button-up or something, and from what I remember, but maybe I'm wrong, that she had, like, a blazer. I think she was wearing Ryan's blazer. Absolutely ridiculous. A button-up and Ryan's blazer. She had on a onesie and a big old camo coat. And we're supposed to trust this woman's retelling of events. The only facts she got right are the facts that she had access to in her text messages and could look at, and then she could repeat those for Blake. But anything else as far as her actual memory of the day, absolutely wrong. The only thing she remembered correctly is that it was at a bar. As best you can recall, what was the interaction between Blake and Justin as it relates to that comment? Let's see. Did that skip pages? Oh, yeah, this is still it. That was when I said that, as I described before. I can't remember if Justin left, like, between when he said the sexy hot stuff and then came back and then I said that, or I can't remember how many times he left. 0, Jenny. 0 times he left. Maybe it was once, maybe twice, but then after I said that, in my memory, he left, kind of, as I described before, kind of like huffed away, and then came back and said the thing about the reason why he said the word hot was because it was hot in the bar. And the video, I've shown the video before, but what I wanted to show it for again today, but I'm so sorry I didn't get it um queued up right for you guys, is that shortly after the whole conversation happens, and you could see it all happen. As soon as he says it, he, like, tells her about she's got something on her tooth, and they're like, "Oh, get a toothpick." And then they're standing there, and they're all talking, all 3 of them together, and Jenny reaches over and grabs Justin's arm and gives it a little shake. Friendly, a completely friendly gesture. Now, if she was sitting there all offended by this sexual harassment that she has just had to defend her friend from, and Justin was walking back and forth in a huff, what the heck was that? Why is she being so friendly and touching this man that she thinks is such a creep? Or was everything okay with her at the time and only got bad after she texted with Blake later that day? Did he ever apologize for that comment? No, not that I can remember. Did you ever discuss sex or your sex life? Nothing more than that text message shows about a joke that I made about, and then of course Ezra cuts it off right there, of course, because it's the one where she said that she needed a different place to live because it was bad for sex. Because yeah, that's what how you're supposed to talk to your boss. and then walk away from that conversation and say that you were sexually harassed and discriminated against because he dared give you $15,000 since you're the mother that brought a young child with her. What is wrong with these people? But she's like, "Oh, mine was a joke." But he was lying about his. His wasn't about how hot it was. He's lying, but mine was a joke. You are a joke, Jenny Slate, a vile one. Okay. Jenny Slate. Oh, sorry. I forgot. I'm coming back to the same part. Slate independently decided not to promote the film with Baldoni or Heath based on how she had been treated. All right, let's get to this evidence that Ezra's given us. I'm sure it will be riveting. Here's Jenny Slate. Hey guys, I don't want to do anything with Justin. I don't want to talk about him like nothing. And the same goes for Jamie, who is truly unprofessional. Poor Jamie, justice for Jamie. I also haven't read the book. And remember, I don't know if you guys were on the live I was on with Bocce, and I'm like, Jenny said she didn't read the book. And people were like, no, she said she read the book 3 times. Jenny did not read the book. This is, she says, I also haven't read the book. So definitely no questions about that. I'm just not sure how visible I want to be in this campaign. And looking over this list, I'm wondering if actually we should wait a beat. And that's one of the videos I have. Her and Blake, it's one of the few promotional things that she did. They're sitting there being interviewed and they're being asked about, oh, this compared to the book and that compared to the book. And Jenny looks like she just wants to flee. And because she knows she didn't read that book, and so she won't be able to answer these questions. And yeah, Isabella read the book, but Jenny did not. She says it right here. But but anyway, then Blake, she gets asked very direct questions about this compared to the book and how did this movie different from the book. She has no idea what to say, so she just goes into absolute word salad, and none of that poor woman's questions get answered. This woman was a big fan of the book, had probably read the book like 3 times herself, and she's asking questions about the book, and she doesn't get a single one of them answered. She just gets a bunch of absolute word salad. It's awful. Okay, but this has been really gross and disturbing shoot. And I'm one of many who feel this way, who feel thus way. And Blake and I have both complained directly to Ange at Sony, and they agree with us, by the way. Oh, really, Jenny Slate? Because I thought 3 of them called Blake a terrorist. Justin is truly a false ally, and I'm unwilling to do anything that promotes the image that he's crafting as a male feminist. Like, honestly, I have no words to describe what a fraud he is. What she needs that mirror too. I honestly have never ever encountered anything like this dude. He's the biggest clown and the most intense narcissist. Absolutely incredible. But I'm reading this and it's like this woman really, really wants out of the promotion, and I don't think it has anything to do with Justin. I think she doesn't like fans. She wants to just be a movie star, get paid, and be left alone and thought highly of and not have to mingle with the peasants. And so this is her great excuse to get out of that. Because she was downright ugly about Justin talking to the fans and like thinking that was going to make her have to do that, mingle with the peasants. Okay, then we get into Isabella Ferrer. So Ezra says Isabella likewise experienced inappropriate and sexualized comments from Baldoni on set. There was one comment she said to her, I'm not supposed to say this, but this was hot, that was hot. And it's Immediately after an intimate scene. What was he supposed to say? Oh, that scene was very funny. Oh, that scene was very sad. Oh, that scene was very tragic. That scene was very action packed. What was he supposed to say? It was supposed to be hot, wasn't it? Isn't that the whole point of sex scenes? As well as comments that sexualized her to her co star. Maybe he thought, having talked to both of them, that they would make a good couple. And how did it sexualize her and not sexualize Alex? I think you guys could get to know each other well. Maybe he's like, I think you guys have similar personalities, both kind of quiet, both kind of reserved, right? And they ended up together. They're still together now. She should be thanking him for that. How is that a bad thing? So Ferrer independently chose to distance herself from Baldoni, including electing not to appear with him in promotion. And it's so funny that she keeps saying independently because these are all people that we have message after message after message of Blake tainting Justin and Jamie's reputations over and over and over again. And she's the most famous person on the set. She's the one they're all probably in awe of. How easy was it? This is Isabella's very first and probably very last movie. And they were influenced by her. So this whole independently thing is just such nonsense, disproving the narrative that Lively's allegedly tone-deaf marketing was the cause of an organic backlash against her. So why would Justin, so let's say he did do a campaign, which we all know he didn't, against Blake. Why would he do one against anybody else? Why would he do that against Isabella? If it was all retaliation for Blake complaining, why would he do this to Colleen? Why would he do this to any of these people? They all got criticized because they all did the same tone deaf marketing together. It actually, she's actually going against her own argument by making this statement that all of them were attacked. Because what's the one thing they have in common? That they did this same tone deaf marketing together. Isabella never complained while on set. She only praised. Why on earth would Justin have a campaign against her? It just, her whole narrative is there's a campaign against me because I complained and this is retaliation against me. Well, then why are these other women supposedly getting backlash? You've fought against your own argument, Ezra. Dum dum. The other thing about her other complaint from her deposition, she says that he turned to my co-star and said, "I know I'm not supposed to say this, but that was hot." So he didn't even say this to her. He said it to him or to the both of them for their performance that was supposed to be hot. This is not sexual harassment. Okay, and now we've got a little bit more of Isabella's deposition. I really hope he feels, listen to this dum dum. I really hope he feels one day morally responsible for promoting bullying towards us after the way he's treated us already. How did he promote bullying? They ask. Given the online hate that I was getting, it seemed like there was nothing being done to speak out against the bullying that was happening to the women in the cast. You mean the women in the cast that wouldn't speak to him? That cut him off completely? That wouldn't even say his name? What was he supposed to do for you? Did you ever think about asking him to do something? And now we get to the bottom of it. All this, she's moving independently, right? Also, from what I gathered information-wise from people such as Blake, there we go. This is where all her information and all of her feelings came from. It was kind of assumed that due to hiring a PR crisis manager that this kind of narrative was starting to get spun online. So this was all stuff she heard from Blake. None of it was any kind of conclusion that she came to. Never bothered to go to Justin and talk to him about it, because that would be the grown-up thing to do. Instead, she was playing little games like, "Oh, we're not talking to you. We're not saying your name. We're gonna mock you in interviews." Okay, you're on your own then, big girl. You wrote, "Justin has been playing all of this up because he knows he's about to get his sugar exposed, so he's hyping her up and then playing the victim at the same time." What are you even talking about? This sounds like it's like her mouth is moving and Blake's voice is coming out. And they said, uh, um, "What did you mean when you said Justin has been playing all of this up?" She says, "I think I meant the bullying and the narrative that was coming out after it was deemed by the public on social media that me and Blake and the rest of the cast didn't care about the real meaning of this movie. But what were you doing? What was your marketing?" That was one of the other clips I had. Well, they're sitting there and they're talking about what they what extra this is one of the questions Blake asked them. "What extra body part would you like to have?" And her and Isabella talk about a cookie and a cookie on your shoulder that you can just turn and bite. It's so stupid. And when you are promoting and then Jenny Slate goes on and on about being scared of horses because their butts are shiny and there's a ponytail coming out of them. And this was the promotion for the movie, filmed by Ryan and paid for by Sony and Wayfarer. It had not one thing to do with the movie. Then there was them making cookies, and there was Blake and Brandon sitting around drawing flowers, and then, of course, that ridiculous one with Hugh Jackman where Ryan and his mother both sexually harassed Brandon, and they're talking about meth. It's so I can't even imagine how traumatic that would be for a DV survivor who loved this book and was looking forward to this movie, and they sit there and see sexual harassment by Ryan and his mother, and, them all talking about Ryan on a meth journey, and Ryan looking for a new dad because his dad's dead. Can you imagine? And they thought they weren't gonna get criticized for that, and it's all Justin's fault? But even just me, I found it to be kind of in line with then him promoting himself and his voiced opinions about domestic violence and him being able to kind of be the only person to talk about that. He was playing this narrative up that we don't care and that he does. Did you get the email, Isabella, where Jamie said, We're getting criticism. You might want to change the direction of your marketing, but you didn't?" And then they ask a very good question. "Do you know if Justin wanted to participate in the press with you?" Of course he did, but he was banished. She's like, "Oh, I don't know." "Do you know if he wanted to participate in press with Blake Lively?" "I don't know." "Do you know if he wanted to participate in press with Colleen Hoover?" "Yes, he was going to, and then that gets cut off. It's so stupid. The assumptions that she came to just based on things that Blake told her. She never went to bother to find out what was actually going on. And maybe if she had, she could have taken part in the same marketing that Justin was doing and could have saved her reputation and would not have had it ended like it has been so far. Then we come back to Sorry. Oh, yeah. I read too much last time, just that independently chose to distance herself. Okay, then we have some more to talk about that. So, prior to this, she had had nothing but praise for her experience and for Justin. Then they all got to trash talking Justin. We've seen the messages now, and she wanted to be a part of it all. Like I said, she was getting sleepovers, she was getting taken out to dinner and paraded around with the famous celebrity. She was getting flown in a private jet, she got to go to Book Bonanza, she's making all these little promotional things, she's probably having the time of her life. And so she just and I think she thought, according to what she said in one of the events, she thought that Blake was gonna introduce her to Taylor Swift. That didn't happen, did it, Isabella? And she probably thought that Blake was gonna boost her career and that she was really gonna go places. She probably saw Justin out of Blake's eyes. I'm sure Blake was always talking about how unprofessional and how stupid and little Wayfarer was, and she probably thought, "If I take Justin's side, I'm not going anywhere, and if I take Blake's side, I'm gonna be as big a star as she is." And so she made her choice, and I feel like Justin probably would have done more to move her career along had she stayed, but she chose very poorly indeed, and we're gonna see what other stuff happened to her because of it. Um, did you want to appear in press and promotion with Mr. Baldoni? No, all of a sudden, I didn't really mind. Wait, Ezra. Is that what you said, Ezra? Ferrer independently chose to distance herself from Baldoni, including electing not to appear with him in promotion. What did she say, Ezra? I didn't really mind. But what happened? Prior to hearing the other words that were expressed about him. So it's not something she experienced. She heard all the bad mouthing that was going on by Blake and Jenny and who knows who else that happened at that dinner that Alex talked about seeing. I was happy to do anything at that point. And he asked her, once you learned about the experience that other people had had with Mr. Baldoni on set, did you want to appear in press and promotion with him? Not particularly. So she doesn't say no. Why didn't you just go talk to him then? Why not? And here's her answer. If a group of people are saying pretty negative things about a person, you rely on your own personal experiences and things you've actually witnessed with your own eyes. That's what a grown person does. They don't listen to gossip and form an opinion based on something that they did not see and that they do not have the absolute facts for. That kind of validate the situations that I also experienced on set that I thought were inappropriate. It didn't really make me excited to work with him again. Did hearing that Miss Lively or Miss Slate had uncomfortable experiences on set impact how you felt about comments that were made to you or about you by Mr. Baldoni? Yes, which is exactly what we've said. That she had a completely opposite opinion of Justin, going in for that hug, getting that hug block, and then all of a sudden praising the situation, specifically saying the word comfortable, that they had made her first filming experience so comfortable. And then after talking to Blake, now all of a sudden it's this. At least she admits it. At least she says yes. It is workplace mobbing. That's exactly what it is, Kimberly. And safe. Yes. Who said that? Trapped online. Yes. Comfortable and safe. It wasn't just flattery. She chose those words specifically. Okay, now let's talk about what the marketing plan actually was. She just absolutely, it's like, did you read any of your emails, Isabella? Did you read anything? Did you ask any questions? Or did you just follow Blake around like a puppet and just believe whatever she said and not try to find out anything for yourself? You were a grown woman. That was your job, your first job, and you couldn't pay attention? You just followed Blake around like a lost little puppy? Oh, well, Blake said this. Okay, so this is what it is. Oh, Justin's bad. Bad Justin. Here is what it actually was. And this is just one of them. I've gone over one before that it says not to make DV the central topic. It never ever said not to talk about it at all. Because you don't want it to be just like a traumatic experience. People coming to these might be DV survivors themselves, so you want to be careful. You wanna let them guide the conversation, but you don't want it to go completely dark, but that n he never said, "Ignore this topic completely." So this one says, "Colleen will introduce the trailer, then there will be question and answer," because later, I think it's, Colleen that says something about, that Justin was making floral bouquets and nobody said anything about that, but oh, that's right, Katie of Art. Um, that was the date he proposed, but then, 2 of the experts couldn't come that day, and one of them was out of the country and only available on the 8th. That's right. That's right. So that posting was not new. It just finally made it to the docket. Okay. So, and that was going to be the final pre-trial conference. That's what it's called, a pre-trial conference. That was gonna be the final one. They had the one, and then they still had things to discuss. They still had the Daubert stuff, and so he said, "We'll have this one." So it was final. So that's not something some new, um, verbiage that's being used to say it's settled. That just it was always gonna be the final one before the trial. Okay, so what about these bouquets? So first, Colleen was gonna introduce it, then they were gonna have question and answer, then they were gonna mingle, and there was gonna be snacks, a grazing station, wine, and music, and arranging bouquets. But there was plenty of information about what the book was about. There were discussions. They were gonna talk to the crowds about what they wanted to talk about. This wasn't them just getting together and looking at a miniature of Lily Blooms so that they could use it to promote Betty Booze and Betty Buzz. So it's so stupid. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Oh, I never used to yawn. All right, what else was happening here? I gotta scoot my squeaky mic arm forward. Now, here are some of the things that they were going to be asked. What's your favorite scene from the book? They were going to talk about the book. Did Blake and them ever talk about the book? No, because only Isabella read it. What should fans Why should fans see this movie? These are the kinds of topics that Wayfarer put out that they wanted addressed for marketing. This is what they wanted. So, Isabella, you listened to Blake, and Blake lied to you and filled your head with her nonsense, and you blindly believed her. This is the marketing you guys were supposed to do. Focus on the book. A little bit of a flower theme on the side. Watch Lily's story come to life on the big screen. Grab your best friend and your tissue box. Isn't that very, very different than what Blake got criticized for? Here it is in writing what Wayfarer said to say. Grab your best friend and your tissue box. And it turned into grab your friends and wear your florals. And who did that? Of course it was criticized. Would this have ever been criticized? Do you think any survivors would be offended by this? Or would they say, "Oh, absolutely. Thanks for reminding me. I'm going to need my tissues." This is so ridiculous. But it's ridiculous that a woman in her early 20s on her first job didn't take it seriously enough to read her information and ask questions of her actual boss before she goes out there and makes those ridiculous accusations and blames it all on Justin. When here it is, black and white, long before they made fools of themselves talking about cookies and horse butts, they could have been spared all of the humiliation, but they chose to be idiots. Was there a specific part of the book that made you decide, sorry, I can't hardly read, to oversee the film adaptation? What's important for audience to take away from this movie? What do you, sorry, what do you think book fans will love most about the movie? This was the plan, Isabella. Have you read it yet? Do you know what a dum-dum you are now? Okay, here's more talking points. So instead of letting Blake dress you hideously so that you looked stupid next to her and were too dumb to realize that that's what was happening, you thought you were getting attention and love and sweetness and carving out a space for you, but you were being dressed down so that she could shine, letting her grope all over you like you were a baby doll, speak over you and speak for you. You could have been a grown-up and spoken to your director instead of waiting for him to come along and save you, in spite of you not speaking his name, referring to him only as your director, mocking him about saying beauty mark instead of mole, posting sleepovers in Blake's bed. That's creepy, Isabella. You could have been doing this and you'd probably still have a career. But instead, you chose Blake, who was more than happy to kill it. This is what you could have had. A woman who overcomes a traumatic childhood to embark on a new life in Boston and chase a lifelong dream of opening her business. Does it sound like they're trying to avoid the topic? These are talking points put out by Wayfarer. Are they avoiding the topic? Like Blake told you that they said to do? Lily begins to see sides of Ryle that remind her of her parents' relationship. A big, emotional, complicated story about breaking free from the past and empowering yourself and your future. She leaves behind a complicated childhood, and in doing so, discovers her own resilience and strength, empowering her to stand up to adversity. It's more than just a love story or love triangle. It's a story of Lily learning how to take agency for her future. She witnessed her mother being abused by her father. Are they avoiding the subject? Unwittingly finds herself following the same footsteps. Are they avoiding the subject? Must learn to stand up for herself. Now, here's what they say to avoid. It's early in the campaign. Try to avoid going too deep into the story or giving away too many details on the plot. No spoilers. Focus more on Lily's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story about domestic violence. Now, they never said don't talk about it. In fact, just above, that's in the positioning, that's in the log line. They didn't want them to come out and just focus on that because there were the other important parts of empowerment and standing up for yourself and resiliency. So she was just completely lied to about it. Avoid talking about this film that makes it feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope. So none of this is what Isabella was told. It was all just presented to her falsely. So having read that stuff, does it disprove the narrative that Lively's allegedly tone-deaf marketing was the cause of an organic backlash against her? That was the proof we just went through. Did any of that prove that Lively's tone-deaf marketing wasn't the cause of a backlash? None of it. And we saw I read it with Bocce, the deposition where she described the how innocent the sex scene was, how innocent her losing her virginity was. It was oh my goodness, it was so that's like, girl, you have been brainwashed, completely brainwashed. She did that so she could cut out the sexy parts because you looked better than her. She didn't like it. This woman is not your friend, Isabella. She cut parts of the movie out of you. She dressed you stupidly. She took you to this marketing. She ruined your career. Not Justin. Blake did it. And this is what Blake told you. I'm sure you had no idea about any of this on your own. This is Blake's line. Him literally hiring. Oh, sorry. This is Blake talking to Isabella. This is where she got it. Sorry, I introduced this incorrectly. This is where she got her information. This was Blake talking to her. Both thrilled and so bummed. Him literally hiring bots to attack my character. She says attach, but attack my character while I promote a movie that he benefits from financially, or benefits most from financially, is a terrible feeling. It's almost impossible to comprehend. But I love you, and I'm grateful for all the good that came out of this. You being very top of that list. How are you feeling? So manipulative. So manipulative right there. And she does this to every single one of them. They all think that they're her favorite. And then is making Isabella think that this bad stuff that's being said is all Justin. Justin hired bots and made this happen to you. It's so manipulative. Isabella says, I'm so angry that this has to F with the success of the film. He was doing everything he could to keep the film successful. This man was not going to destroy the film that he spent 5 years of his life to make. He wanted it to be successful. He ended up in the hospital trying to make it successful. His sneaky tactics. But know that the people that matter know the truth. What sneaky tactics? These bots that Blake's telling you happened? Because it didn't. They're also so happy to see how you have supported me. She's talking about her friends and family. You have made such a good impression on others for being so kind to me, and it's all truth. You love me. So all this sugar about you not being someone who cares is the craziest BS ever, because you have literally stuck with me and have raised me up and have been so protective, and that shows how good you are, how kind you are. You went above and beyond and literally didn't have to do any of this. You just chose to. Grab your tissues, girls and guys. Oh, so sweet. Ridiculous. This girl was so manipulated. Cookies and horse butts. That is what they did. They talked about cookies and horse butts to promote this movie. You have changed my life. Yeah, she destroyed your career. Literally 180'd it. You've given me so much, and I'm so happy and grateful to hear you say you feel the support from me too, because look at this, guys. I got you. Always. As in, I'll back up your stuff. I'll back up your story. I'll help you with your lawsuit. Do you know if Sony's gonna say something soon? Or if the crew are gonna speak out? What's the next thing, boss? Tell me what to do. I got you. You did all this for me. Can you trust someone's testimony that says this? Or if you were a juror and you saw this, would you feel like just maybe this was all a big conspiracy that they were all in on together? That this was the real smear campaign? And now it's Alex's turn. So Ezra says that Alex Sachs confirms that she never observed Baldoni treating men the same way he treated her. Now get out your magnifying glasses because I want you to look really hard to see if you can find her say that, because I couldn't find it. I've got the document number up on the corner. Feel free to go look at it, and if I missed it, please come tell me. But I never saw her say that. Early on, Sachs... Oh, wait, let me look at my notes on this. Hold on. Let's see. Sachs developed concerns about the absence of any meaningful HR structure on set and the obvious problem that Baldoni and Heath were the only people to whom complaints could be directed, even complaints about their own conduct. She does, to be fair, she does say that at some point, I think to Ange. So there's no contradiction to that bit about the meaningful HR structure. That is an actual conversation that she does have. So I'll give her that. She recommended that Wayfarer investigate concerns on set, which it refused to do. Now that part is hotly contested by Justin and Jamie. They say that she never talked to them about this, never said this. So that's a he said, she said. So we got to look at the rest of the credibility that's all you can do in that situation. That's all you can instruct a jury to do is when you have a situation where they say something opposite, you got to find other ways to see who's the credible person. She concluded this part that Baldoni should be removed as director and that Heath should not be allowed on set. What did Jamie do that these women all act like? It's insane. Justice for Jamie, because I would expect with the way they talk about Jamie, I would expect to see such a long list of absolutely atrocious things this man did. We have the trailer accusation where every single person there gives a completely different story about what happened. But we have Blake admitting that she invited him to come in. And then we have Jenny's story where she blurts out that her apartment's not good for sex, and Jamie gives her money and gets her a new place and says he has so much respect and honor for mothers. And then from that, we get all of this. He should be banned from set. Blake says he runs it like a barbecue. Racist much, Blake? But then she's saying not allowed on set. Sachs also concluded she would not work with Baldoni or Heath again, but that she would work with Lively. Well, let's talk about that again. At the time this all happened, Wayfarer was still pretty tiny. They thought Wayfarer was going to be just obliterated, and Blake and Ryan still had power. Do you think this woman was going to sit there in front being interrogated by Blake's attorney and say, I will never work with Blake again? Because I find it hard to believe that a person would say that, whether they felt it or not. Oh, yeah, Jamie gets the toilet paper. It disgusts me the way they speak about Jamie. Blake won't even spell his name right in her text messages about him. And did not want to attend the premiere with them. All right, let's talk about what Alex actually said now. This is an email from Mr. Baldoni to you. It reads, I want to apologize to the group, especially to Alex. What was Justin apologizing to you for? She says, I believe the day before we were on a call or a Zoom where he yelled at me. Mr. Baldoni yelled at you? I believe so. So we've heard that there's like 3 times of yelling. So this one's on a Zoom. This is on a Zoom. And what does he do immediately? He apologizes. The next day, a written apology in front of everybody. Do you recall who else was in the Zoom? And she lists the people. So in front of everybody, he humbles himself and apologizes. Does she have to accept his apology? No, to be fair, she doesn't. But I don't know about you guys, if you've ever had one of those grouchy, angry, yelling type bosses. They never apologize. And you can never count how many times they yell at you because they yell all the time. This girl can not only count it, she can count it on one hand. And it's 3 times. So how hostile is it? 2 of them are on Zoom. This one's on Zoom, comes the next day with a humble apology. Okay, and what was the circumstances about him yelling at you? I don't remember much. But reading the email, I believe he was talking about his own abuse. Yeah, when I tried to voice an opinion, he yelled at me. Did you interrupt a very emotional something that he was talking about that was probably really hard for him to talk about? And you chime in and say what? Who knows what? Because you seem like a very abrasive type person when I hear your voice on TikToks and I see the way you talk to people. You seem very abrasive. So did you interrupt an emotional time? And did the what you interpreted as yelling, was it the emotion he was holding while he was relating a story about abuse? Do you recall the gist of what he yelled at you? I don't. That's how traumatic it was. Do you recall what opinion you were voicing at the time? I don't. Okay, Alex. You'd have been a great witness. Would have loved to see it. Okay, here's his apology. I feel I have failed at being a safe place for others. So I want to apologize as my behavior yesterday for me was not acceptable. I try very hard not to interrupt the women in my life, and unfortunately, I've been failing, in particular to you. Did you agree with Mr. Baldoni that he'd failed at being a safe place for others? I have no idea. Wouldn't that have been great on the stand? Did you feel that he had failed at being a safe place for you, safe space for you? I didn't need him to be a safe space for me. Do you recall Mr. Baldoni interrupting you? I don't recall. Mr. Baldoni often interrupted you while you were speaking? Sometimes. Did you observe Mr. Baldoni interrupt other women in connection with the film? I can't recall. I think it's Ezra questioning her. Or it might be Meryl. Let me see if it. Oh, Miss Roser. It's Miss Roser. Sorry, I was wrong. This is what Ezra said, though. She never observed Baldoni treating men the same way he treated her. That's not what she's saying, though, is it? Okay, let's check some more. See if we missed it. She's trying to get her to say things. I never saw him directly mansplain to one woman or a group of women. It was more a big conversation with a group in a production meeting or something. We know it was mixed company. Did you observe Mr. Baldoni yell at anyone else in connection with the film other than you? Not that I can recall. That's not the way Ezra presented it. Did Mr. Baldoni yell at you more than once in connection with the film? Yes. How many times? I believe it was 3. Another was also on Zoom. And then on a follow up Zoom, he apologized to me in front of the entire group for doing so on the previous Zoom. Sounds really hostile, doesn't it? Do you recall what he yelled at you? I don't. Do you recall the topic that was being discussed at the time he yelled at you? I don't. Do you recall Mr. Baldoni also mansplaining to you? I missed some of these with my pink highlighter. Sorry, guys. I don't recall. Do you recall whether he interrupted you during a note Zoom in January? I don't recall. You mentioned there was a third incident in which Mr. Baldoni yelled at you. And this turns out to be shooting at the root location. Let's see. It was a very stressful day of shooting because we had a lot of work to do in a short amount of time. He came up behind the monitor where I was sitting. Jamie and Ange were behind me, and he came up to me and asked me how I thought the scene was going and if he was getting it, which I thought he did, and also expressed that I didn't believe that he needed more coverage. And then he yelled at me and said that, I don't remember exactly, but something to the effect of, I actually don't remember exactly what he said. But he yelled something and then slammed his hands on the director's chair next to me and walked away. Riveting testimony. That's not what Ezra said her testimony would be. And she cut out 4 pages from this, from the whole deposition. I would really like to know what Ezra cut out, because they were really trying to get her to say that there was mansplaining and that she treated that he treated men and women differently. And she never, ever said that, let alone spoke about any kind of sexual harassment. Okay. Now let's talk about, so that it was on this set of Root. Do you guys remember what happened at Root? That's where Justin gets into a physical fight with, or I'm sorry, where Ryle gets into, I hate that, such a stupid name, where Ryle gets into a physical fight with Brandon. Do you guys remember? Now, from what I understand, that's not his nature. So if you are of a more gentle nature and you are playing a role where you have to physically attack somebody and wrestle around with them, aren't you going to have to do a certain amount of psyching yourself up to get into that personality that is just not you? And coming in and out of that personality is going to be hard. I've seen things about people who almost went a little crazy when they took on a role that was a difficult role. I think, was it like Joaquin, what's his name? Anyway, I've seen different documentaries and stuff where people have talked about what it took to get into a role where they played a really, really bad guy. Something that wasn't Heath Ledger. That's it. It's Heath Ledger. He almost went insane because, and it was about the Joker, right? Was it about the Joker? And he said, "You have to become that character in order to realistically portray it. It is not easy for them to do this." So he's coming in and out. He's frustrated. Let's look at the time frame too. So this, what was the date on it? Let me go back. So June 2023. What's happening in June 2023? I made this when after the judge talked about the consecutive 6 weeks that Blake was supposed to work, and then I'm like, she didn't work. Um, she left before 6 weeks were even over, so that's what this is left over from. But it works out well because if you look at what's happening in June, they were supposed to start filming May 8th. Blake agreed to 6 weeks, and they're struggling to get those 6 weeks done because the very first week, Blake takes off. And I still say it's because it was going to be the honeymoon scene and the wedding scene that was going to be filmed in Vegas. And she had asked Justin to put it at the end so that she'd have more time to lose weight for those scenes. And he couldn't work it out because things were already booked, already planned. And so she just didn't show up. And so that scene had to be completely cut out. But anyway, so she missed the whole first week. Then she worked a week, and then she works 3 days and she doesn't finish that week. And then she doesn't come back for the first part. I think that's the whole COVID situation. And then she works 2 days, and then the strike happens, but it's not for actors. It is for the writers. And SAG specifically instructed all of the actors in their union not to picket and to go to work and finish their contracts, or they could be sued for not honoring their contract, because this was the writer's strike and only the writer's strike. Now, SAG went on strike, but they didn't go on strike till the middle of July. But Blake's like, I'm not going to cross the picket line. And so she just doesn't show up. And so now they're finally getting somewhere. They work on a Saturday. This is the pressure this man is under. At this point, she has missed 11 film days. Locations are booked. Crew is booked. These things are prepaid for. And she has already cost him 11 days. And now this strike's coming, and they're worried about what's going to happen with that. So this is the mindset that he was under. And so it's, people lose their tempers. He was playing a character, a very aggressive scene. He comes out, his assistant is disagreeing with him, like, you got enough. He's not pleased with what he has. He doesn't feel like it's enough. It's not like a scene that he wants to come back and refilm further down the road if he doesn't like how it turns out. It's now or never sort of thing, or coming back with a whole lot of trouble to do it. So this is the mindset he's in, and she's undermining him. He's her boss. He's the director, and he gets frustrated. Does he hit her? Does he scream at her? He slams his hand down on his chair. How many times have you heard me hit my desk when I'm getting mad and I'm talking about something? I've done it over and over again. I've never struck a person. I mean, that doesn't mean you're going to violently hurt someone because you smack a chair when you're in that state of mind. So let's be realistic about what was happening. At this point, how much money has she cost him? She came in and blew the wardrobe budget up. Wasn't it something like $400,000? He had to pay her for her own clothes. I mean, I'll never forget when I first heard she wore her own clothes. I was like, oh, that's so nice. She saved him money. Then I found out, no, she was wearing 2 pairs of pants so she'd get extra, 6 shirts, a coat, boots, a hat. Got to get it, as much clothes on as she could possibly get for every scene so she could charge more. Her bags, you name it, got a whole new hideous wardrobe out of this movie. Not only that, then not showing up, all the cancellations it cost him, all the missed days that they were going to have to make up later. He was he didn't have a lot of money to make this movie. It was supposed to be an indie, low budget film. And how many millions was she did she ultimately cost him? So he had a lot of stress going on. He slammed his hands on a chair and and said something to her during Zoom meetings. Now, if we look at, I believe Jamie's this is Jamie's timeline. Oh yeah, her husband sucks so that Ryan could get in on some of the money. So this is from Jamie's timeline, and this is the shoot day at the Root, and this is what he says about it. Alex insisted. So insisted is not the same as going him asking, "Hey, do you think I got? What do you think of that? You think it's enough?" And her going, "Not sure." No, Alex insisted, and if you hear the woman speak, and if you read the way she talks in text messages, she does not sound like a patient, kind person. So I could imagine her insisting. The woman's like, he needs out of here. Jamie needs banished, and I need to be the director of this. That's her personality. That Justin already had the shot and didn't need to do another take. Justin sternly responded, I will decide. He was probably so frustrated at these women trying to do his job instead of letting him do it. Like, he's the director, and they all want to be the director. Alex ended up leaving set shortly thereafter. Okay. Now, this is from Jamie's deposition. And if you, it's kind of sad too when you hear about Alex, because she was one of the first people to join this project. She met him in 2019 after a TED Talk, and they were friends for all those years leading up to this. And she gets credited for being the person who brings Blake to the film, which is very interesting. She, in the course of her depositions and texts through all of this discovery that we've got, she criticizes Justin. She criticizes Julie Bloom. Blake arranges a promotion for Alex in the middle of all this. It's in her demands that Alex gets a little something out of it. But then she also rats out the dinner where Blake and everybody was bad-mouthing Justin. She also is sorry, I'm reading this. She's also in text messages with Justin telling him to tell Blake no, not to let Blake be the editor and all this. So I don't understand this woman. She's like against everybody. She's not on anybody's side. She's just like, I hate you all, and I should be the director. Thank you, opinion below. Okay, so this is Jamie's take. We had new ADs. Justin was dealing with time constraint, a lot of pressure to get the scene within a certain time. Whenever you have a lot of people working, it can cause some stress and different ideas and different opinions. The new ADs with disgruntled PAs that were loyal to the previous ADs, there's feelings about that. They had to learn new footing with the new ones. Justin was trying to get the scene, and I'm saying to him, dude, we need to wrap this up. But he hadn't captured it yet. He had a vision. There was a way he wanted it to look, and that was entirely his right to do. So when he came out to talk to me and Alex and Ange, he was very passionate about that. He didn't have it yet. He said something like, Alex, I'm the director. I need to get this. She needed to hear that because she thought she was the director. The director's chair has like flappy material. And when he did it, he hit it aggressively, but he hit it or it flapped. And he was like, I'm the director. I got to get this. He had to hurry up and get back to set. And then Alex did respond with, did you see that? Did you see what he just did? And Ange's response, sometimes I just love Ange so much. Ange's response was like, he's not wrong, Alex. And Alex was like, yeah, but didn't you see how he just yelled at me? And she's like, she's not wrong. He's the director. And he's just trying to get this done. And she was like, if he ever does that to me again, I'm going to walk off the set. And then look what happens. Her and Ange get into it because Ange was like, what's the problem? He's just and Alex had her feelings about it, and that's essentially what I recall. I'm telling you, Alex was a friend to no one. She hated everybody. Miss Hudson, I feel like if you asked anybody that was on the set at that moment, that no one would say he was rageful. Because Ezra asked, was in your view she was exaggerating because she called his response rageful. Then she asked, did Miss Sachs talk to you after she had brunch with Jenny Slate on May 29th, 2023? Remember we saw that she claims that she did? He says, she never talked to me about it that I recall. And Ezra pushes it. Well, she testified that she told you. And I don't have that one on here, but he's like, nope, didn't happen. Okay, at 3:01, you write, him and Jamie have a way of making women feel like, this is back to Alex. And she look what she says. Ezra told us that she's going to prove that Alex said that it was, she never saw him talk to any men like this. But what does Alex say? And some men. Yes, she says exactly the opposite of what Ezra says she's going to say. Exactly the opposite. Was it your experience that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath had a way of making women on the set feel like sugar? And the next page is skipped, so we don't get to see what she said. But you better believe if she agreed with Ezra, it would be on here, and it's not. So I think we can pretty much safely say that she did not agree with it. Does it surprise you that Mr. Heath would send your notes to the editor or writer of the coffee table book and represent that you are not a decision maker? He's trying to stir it up, right? She says, no. Why? Because I wasn't one. So that was kind of funny. So where in that did she make that statement? It wasn't any part of the transcript. She made sure to say, and some men. There was nothing about her testimony that talked about her being treated differently because she was a woman. There were some pages that they spoke on narcissism. I didn't cover those. I skipped those because they're not medical professionals to diagnose him as a narcissist. It was their own opinion, and it was unnecessary. And I just didn't want to have any part of reading that. But let's see. And then she does say she would never work with them again. She has a right to say that. I wouldn't like being yelled at either. And I'm not saying that it's okay that Justin yelled at her. And it doesn't make it okay to always apologize after. If you keep doing the same thing, then your apology doesn't really mean anything if you just keep doing it. But I remember my mom teaching us when we were kids, I'm sorry means I wish I didn't do it and I'll never do it again. So that's like stuck in my head. So you can't just keep doing the same thing and saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Because at a certain point, no, you're not. Because if you were, you would stop doing it. But, and I'm sure there was ego. We're talking about Hollywood celebrities. Are there truly any that don't have an inflated ego, at least to some level? Highly doubtful. It's one of the reasons I'm not particularly fond of celebrities. But enough to make a federal case out of it? No. No. enough to say it's a hostile work environment? No, absolutely not. Okay. Now, the next day, after all of that happened, she speaks to Ange, and this is their conversation. She says, I think we need to replace our director. So she got mad. She got mad at Justin over that. It sounds like a lot of these people get their feelings hurt over something and then they don't want to play no more. It's like the spoil sport kids where they miss the ball, so they're not playing baseball no more. Or they're not winning, so they smash the board game up. Like that's a lot of what these personalities feel like to me. So she's mad at him from the day before, and she's like, "We need to replace our director." And Jamie should not be on set. And then starts all the, okay, let's all get together and say all the bad things and paint him to be an evil guy so we can throw him over and take his movie. And she's talking to the Sony rep, thinking that Sony can help her do this. Get rid of Justin, make me the director. How do you trust when there's motives like that involved? How do you trust it? Justin recorded his first rehearsal with Blake and Jenny and didn't tell him. And until the very end. That was the same day Jamie made his comment to Jenny. What? That he respects motherhood? And it only was revealed because Jenny had improved some lines, but said she couldn't write because of WGA. That was the Writer Guild's strike. And Justin said, I'll remember / I recorded this whole session. And I'll never understand why these women were so offended by that. Their literal job is to be recorded acting. How are you going to choose that profession? I'm going to act on camera. I'm going to be recorded. We're going to show it to millions of people. But oh my God, you recorded me rehearsing. I mean, if he was really trying to do it in a sneaky, underhanded way, he would have never told him. He said it because he probably didn't think it was a big deal. But then I looked it up and I showed this on an episode one time. Zoom, the actual website, the actual like support and all of that says that no one can record on a Zoom without it alerting everybody. That as soon as you hit record, it alerts everybody. And if somebody comes on late, whenever they sign on, it will tell them that it's being recorded. So and that's from Zoom. So how in the world do they not know? It's so weird. And then Alex says that she texted Blake. She wants to talk all together this week, but her symptoms are worse. This is when she had the fake COVID that she got one day. I mean, it didn't usually spread that fast, did it? Didn't it usually take a couple of days? And it wasn't even her. So here's what happened. Somebody on the crew that was nowhere near Blake. And remember, by the time they're doing this filming, all the COVID protocols are gone. Completely gone. And someone in the crew, the peasants that weren't allowed to come near Blake, reported that they had COVID. And the very next day, Blake's baby has it. How did it spread? It would have been unbelievable enough if Blake had said, oh, I came down with it in one day, because normally it took a while. But Blake would have had to have had it and be at the contagious stage of it for it to pass to her child. So it's such a lie. And then when Justin's like, come in for testing, she's like, no. So there's no proof that she had COVID. Is that the time that she went to the Eras tour? Okay. So, but yeah, she's convinced Alex that her symptoms are worse. She wants to wrap and go to Europe with Ryan, and she ends up doing that very soon after this, before she finishes her 6 weeks of filming. Um, got to hop on a Justin and Jamie shortly. I genuinely rather someone shove bamboo shoots underneath my fingernails. This is what I'm talking about. Her personality is, you never hear Ange talk like that. Ange keeps it professional all the time. But these ones with the way they talk to each other is, it's so gross and unprofessional. Then they have whatever that was, and they're checking in on her. Did it feel like a good clearing of the air and everyone truly moving on? And she says, yes. I mean, I did. So that's what I'm saying. It's all over the place. And then that's her saying that she would work with Blake again, but would never work with the guys again. That part was true. Then look what she says. I feel in a fine place with him genuinely since he's been rolling over. So this is her. When I get what I want, I'm just perfectly peachy. It's when I don't get to call the shots. Now that I got him rolling over like a dog, I'm happy. It's only when the Jamie, this isn't fair nonsense and revisionist history comes up that I'm like, come on, guys. Okay, and now we have Ange speaking in her deposition about Alex. And you mentioned that Alex Sachs had concerns. What were those? Look at this. This is straight from Ange's mouth, who was there on the set all the time, seeing what was happening and hearing from all of these people. Alex's main concern is that she felt sidelined. There you go. She was used to running her own shows, producing her own shows. She was brought on this and she felt like it was not her set to run because it wasn't. Thank you, Ange, for telling us the truth. Imagine this being presented to a jury. This is why Blake wants to settle. Now we have Christy Hall, who we don't know a whole lot about. She's the one I talked about earlier that she is signed up. She signed up in 2022 to do a film that Blake has been cast in. Blake was cast back in 2017. It's going to be distributed by Sony. I doubt very much that they're going to still make this movie, but this would have been in Christy's mind at the time that she's going to be doing this movie with Blake in the future. So it's probably best to stay on good terms with her. So this is all hearsay. She was not deposed. She was not listed as a witness. This is all just hearsay. There's no way this should ever make it to the light of a courtroom. But Ezra was fighting to get this in. Christy Hall told Alex Sachs that Baldoni did not respect her as a female voice, and she did not want to be associated or do press with him because of his dismissive behavior. Meanwhile, Blake's the one destroying her script. But yeah, Justin's the bad guy. Hall's complaints informed Sachs's understanding of Baldoni's conduct and contributed to Sachs's independent conclusion that his behavior was serious enough to warrant removal. So, independent conclusion or hearing all this crap from everybody else? Whose deposition is this? Because we know Christy wasn't deposed. Is this Jamie again? I've got that little clock over mine, so I can't see. Let me look at 13663. I can't remember who this is. Okay, so did you get any details back then? And you respond, Justin was very dismissive of her when she wanted to direct and then used Jamie. This must be Alex. This is Alex again. Justin was very dismissive of her, talking about Christy Hall. So this is just hearsay. When she wanted to direct and then used Jamie to try and manipulate her when he realized she could co direct it after she got Daddy O going. I don't know what Daddy O is. I've seen that in here, but I don't know what it means. Do you recall what the text was in reference to? No. Definitely Alex's deposition. Do you recall if you and Miss Gianetti had a conversation about concerns raised by Christy Hall with respect to Mr. Baldoni being dismissive of her? Oh, now I know what it's about. What do you recall with respect to Miss Hall's concerns, if any, about any Mr. Baldoni? That initially he was dismissive of her wanting to direct. I don't remember much more than that. She was the script writer. Was she promised that she would get to direct, or did everybody just want to be the director of his movie? All right, and there was talk about her being a female writer, as he would say, that he wanted to give her the chance to write her way in. It was your impression that Miss Hall was concerned with Mr. Baldoni using her as a cover with Blake and Colleen with regard to the script? I guess so. So, if you recall, he didn't like Blake's rewrite or Ryan's rewrite of that rooftop scene. Remember? And he's like, I appreciate your passion for it. I think it will end up being a mix of the two. He wasn't just like, oh, yeah, this is so good. I'm going to do this. And so it sounds like he was saying we're letting her do it. We've got women crew doing all this, and she felt like that was being used as a cover somehow. But he had every right to say that, and it was true. Is it false to say that we hired this woman to do this? What's bad about that? She didn't want to be associated with Justin and Wayfarer. Again, this is absolute hearsay. This is Alex who hates everyone. Did you know why? I believe because of everything I wrote previously. She didn't feel respected as a female voice on the team, and on a movie like this, that felt especially bad. This is Ezra leading the witness. Yes. Did you believe Mr. Baldoni to be a narcissist? As a non-physician, yes. And then they talk about that, and that's just so rude to me. That is a medical diagnosis that you are not qualified to diagnose. So does he have an ego problem? He probably does. He's a celebrity. I think they all do, like I said a moment ago. But that doesn't mean that he's a narcissist. Narcissists don't usually come back and apologize because they don't usually feel like they've done anything wrong. Did you get any details back then? Yes, this is what Alex says. Nothing inappropriate. More that he's a faker, doesn't do the work. Justin was very dismissive of her when she wanted to direct. These are all personality clashes. And then used Jamie to try to manipulate her when he realized she could co-direct after she got Daddy-O going. And then she felt like he tried to use her for cover with Blake and Colleen a bunch. They also didn't want her on set at first, but gave her that credit to not pay her for her writing services. Her stuff isn't bad. I think she just doesn't want to be associated with him. Based on what? All else she's heard. These women were behind the scenes, running their mouths and influencing each other to all come together and hate on this man or these men. She didn't feel respected as a female voice on the team and on a movie like this. Oh, I read that already. Sorry, guys. Now we get to Colleen. The one on the stool, is that's Christy Hall. That's who I was just talking about. She was the script writer that got blindsided by Blake when she told an interviewer that it was actually Ryan who wrote it. And Christy didn't even know that. Hold on just a second, guys. Okay, for some reason, we're back to Ezra. She thinks this is something good to say on here. Colleen also had far more involvement than defendants suggest. Doesn't that kind of lend to the whole idea that this movie got taken away from Justin? Ezra, you're fighting your own arguments. Because she wasn't supposed to, was she? She sold her book, or she sold her story. That means it's not hers anymore, and she had no say in the movie. He gave her a lot of access to a lot of it, but this was not something that she had a right to. Hoover worked closely, look, this makes it even worse, with Lively on Sony's cut of the film and developed her own independent concerns regarding Baldoni's conduct and what? Editorial decisions. He was the director. He was the only person that should have gotten his own cut, the director's cut. So now we've got Colleen in there editing with Blake and she's still calling it Sony's cut when we've already long seen that Sony did not feel like it was their cut at all. In fact, let me see, hold on just a second. No, wait, let me go ahead and finish this and then we'll get to it. She felt marginalized and exploited by Baldoni after witnessing Baldoni and Heath disparage Lively. Why would that make her feel marginalized? Disparage Lively in May 2024, chose to distance herself from them permanently. And yet, she takes full part in disparaging Justin, the guy who did all this for her, without whom her book would have never made it to the movies. She felt marginalized by him talking about what Blake was putting him through, but she happily goes in together with Blake and just destroys his character. But yeah, hypocrite. Hoover also did not appear publicly with Baldoni or Heath, and like other women associated with the film, experienced substantial public backlash resulting from defendants' online smear campaign and Baldoni's unilateral shift in the film's messaging, despite following Wayfarer and Sony's approved marketing plan. No, we looked at the marketing plan, and it was Justin and her together, and they were discussing the book and the features of the book. This is a bold-faced lie. And the backlash was over her nail polish line that had absolutely nothing to do with Justin. All right, let's have a look at Bocce's favorite person, Josh Greenstein, and having a conversation here. What does Sony say about this being their cut? Here is a comparison. Justin cut versus our cut. These are two Sony execs. What do they call it? Blake's cut. This was never Sony's cut. Justin's cut scores higher in every category other than Lillian Atlas relationship and supporting performances, which is probably the young ones, not even Blake. Blake's performance test, same with all women in both versions. Okay, and book readers prefer Justin's cut across the board. Josh and I had a call today with Blake, and she puts Ryan in there. This is another reason I love this woman. And Ryan, regarding the research, and the 5 scenes from Justin's cut We asked to be reinstated. So not only is it not their cut, it's Blake's cut. They're like, Blake, your cut kind of sucks. You got to put some of these things back in. You got to take some of these from Justin, from his cut, and put them in yours to help yours survive. And what is one of them? The rooftop scene. They said it needs to be more romantic. The thing they so proudly wrote. The party. She will reinstate Justin's other than one shot that she wants out. And she says, fine. The frittata. She will reinstate Justin's. The parking lot. Look at this. She insists on her version. She's not the director. And she's talking to Sony. And she's like, nope, it's going to be mine. And then the final abuse, she refuses to intercut flashbacks inside this scene. Isn't that, wouldn't that be Isabella's part? Didn't she cut? The flashbacks are Isabella. So she's like, nope, this is only me. Only me. The sad part is, I saw this on Andy. Some of you guys, I forgot who it was, left me a comment that Andy had talked about the person who put that scene together, the flashback scene. So I went to go watch it. So he spoke to the person that edited that part together with the abuse and the flashback, but she just wanted it to be her going, I love you, I love you, I love you, it's okay, it's okay. It's so emotionless and stupid. She just took over, like re-scripted that, and then took out all the flashes of Isabella and says, the person who edited that scene is a DV survivor and was really proud of her work to make that. She got a standing ovation when it was shown. And Ryan decided to cut it. So this poor woman was an actual survivor. Yes, just like the poster, only me. Who does that? Who takes their face and takes up the entire poster with just their face while claiming to love their co-stars and support the co-stars? Nope. Me. And look at the other at the top of the right. She and Ryan. Wait, where is it? Oh, I missed it. We can give you more details tomorrow, but the upshot of what she puts Ryan in parentheses. She knows who's behind this. That this is all Ryan. She's like, you don't fool me one bit. I'm so glad she made this record so that we know how much Ryan was involved. He didn't just write that scene, that one scene that Blake pretended. And she pretended, it's so embarrassing. She intended to her supposed best friend Taylor that she wrote that. I mean, what would you think if your best friend told you that they did something and then they're all proud of it and they want you to fight for their recognition for it? And then you find out it was actually their husband who did it and that they lied to you. It's embarrassing. But anyway, so I love that she put that they knew this was all Ryan. And then she and Ryan calling you tomorrow to share with you how crucial Dallas screening is, and she believes she can get her cut where it needs to be. So, Sony cut? No. No. Definitely not the Sony cut. All right. Now this, remember this pointing back to the whole marginalized and exploited. Sorry. This is her Colleen's deposition. Are you aware? Oh, no, not Colleen's deposition. Sorry, guys. This is Jamie's deposition again. Are you aware that a reporter at the Daily Mail told Melissa Nathan around this time that Colleen Hoover had, in fact, leaked negative information about the production to the Daily Mail? And then he's like, give me that map again. And she says, Colleen Hoover leaked. Are you aware of that? And it's like he doesn't want to believe it. He goes, who's saying that? A reporter at the Daily Mail told Melissa Nathan. He says, a reporter at the Daily Mail told Melissa that Colleen actually leaked what? And she says, negative information about the film. He says, I'm not aware of that. And then he says, can I ask you a question? She says, probably not, but go ahead. Is this information just because you want me to have it or because you have a question for me about it? And she goes, I'm not going to answer that question. Let's move on to my next question. This is Miss Shaw. So Colleen Hoover, who was so, what were her words? Marginalized and exploited by Justin and Jamie talking about their experience with Blake. She's not only fine to sharing conversations with Blake about this stuff, but she's also out there running her mouth to reporters. About Isabella, I wonder, but I can't imagine Blake really paying attention to anything anybody says about themselves. I think she's probably one of those people that only remembers what she says and not anybody else. Okay. This is Colleen. Up to that point, did you feel that you'd been able to give the creative input that you had wanted to give into the film? I feel like no. What is it that you wanted to do that you felt you hadn't been able to do at that point? And she said, I wanted to be more involved in just the sense of knowing what was going on with filming. But yet she only went to the set once or twice. I was not receiving dailies. So now Colleen wants to receive dailies. But I did do some research and found out that she had a book that was put into a series. It was on some, I don't know, channel I'd never heard of. And in that series, she was invited to the set and she was allowed to help write that scripting. So that was her only experience. So she did have a lot of hands-on. She just didn't realize that that's not normally how it goes when you sell your book to a movie. As an executive producer, I found that confusing, and I ended up having to go to Sony to ask for dailies. Just because without knowing what was going on or seeing what was being filmed every day, I didn't feel like I could give input because I was just unaware of what was happening. Why didn't you go? Why didn't you go to the set? What were the duties of an executive producer? I think it depends on who it is. I didn't recall having duties per se, because you didn't. Executive producer, I was told, was more just like a title they give people. The producers who are the ones who do the actual work. And so they ask, did you think you needed to see the dailies? And she said, yes, being the author of the book, I received all the dailies on the project I had done before this. She also says, and there were other things that were being filmed that I was getting dailies on that were not this movie. No, Colleen. No, Colleen. Not at the time this movie was being filmed. I checked. Verity and Regretting You were not filmed at the same time. They were filmed much later. So maybe you're confusing things by the time you're doing this deposition. But that was not happening then. And let's look at how that went for you on the other movie. Regretting You, directed by Josh Boone. This is Josh Boone's statement. I wanted nothing but for Colleen to love the movie, which she did, which was the biggest, but she had had a tumultuous time on the last one. I just wanted her to have a good experience, and I didn't want to inundate or bother her or vie for her affection. So I really thought about that a lot, giving her space and just going to make the movie. I didn't really need anything from her. I had the book, because that's how it works. You buy the book and you go and you do your thing. And the author has signed it away. But I just wanted to keep a distance from all, but I just wanted to kind of keep a distance from all that stuff. So she's lying in her deposition saying other things she was filming, she was getting dailies. One, she wasn't filming anything else yet. And two, even when she did film, she didn't get the dailies. She didn't get nothing. He's like, I got the book. I don't need you. These people can't stop lying. Justin said that Blake had put in the document that she wants him to stop speaking to her dead father. So here's a lot of this came from Colleen. And I asked him to elaborate on that. And he said that sometime that he told her that he sometimes speaks to her father who's dead. Yes. Didn't that get sorted out that he was actually praying for him? If I'm not mistaken. Then they talk about his religion and they talk about saging interns. Did we ever see the truth about whether or not he saged like people? Interns? Is that true? Or is this just but see what I mean? Like she doesn't mind. She's not speaking in a very nice way here, even during her deposition. It's not respectful in any sort of way, but yet she was just so offended by what he said about Blake. Now look at this. Did you spend time in the edit room with Miss Lively? I did. And did you meet the editors that she was working on the cut of the film for Sony? One of them was in the room with us. One of them was over Zoom. So Travis Moore was in the room and Shane Reed was the one over Zoom. How many times would you say you were in the edit room with Blake? This woman was sitting there editing with Blake. And she's on here for what, Ezra? To prove that Blake didn't take over the movie? Her deposition talks about these editors that were not they were not hired by Sony. They were not hired by Wayfarer. And Blake and Colleen and Ryan in here doing all this. And you're going to argue that his movie was not taken away from him? I believe I was there for 5 days. And when were you in the edit room with Miss Lively? And when you were in the edit room with Miss Lively, were the editors both there also? Travis was there. Shane would mostly do stuff independently. I sat with them and watched all the changes and was giving my opinion. And we saw her sending Blake tons of messages and emails about how she wanted it to go. And why was the dinner making you angrier every time you thought about it? Because of the way they spoke about Blake. And because you were sitting around speaking that way with Blake. That's why. I ended up feeling like we only went to dinner so that they could tell me their opinions of Blake before I heard about what was happening. And I felt like if I cut off communication with them, then they wouldn't have the opportunity to have those conversations with me again. But it's perfectly fine to have these conversations with Blake. You hypocrite. Stuff just suddenly started popping up online negatively about Blake and me and the way we marketed the movie. And it was all just really shocking. And I think the most shocking was how silent Justin was about the online abuse the women in the movie were getting. Again, lady, you broke his heart and you cut him off. And you guys are all crying about how he didn't come to your rescue. What is wrong with you? Ask Josh Greenstein to come to your rescue. Ask Shane Reed and Travis Moore. Ask Ryan. Why was it Justin's responsibility? The guy that you all turned your backs on. Okay, Blue Ocean says, I think they saged the set, the workplace. That makes more sense because I never heard of saging a person. I thought it was always a place. So that's what I was like. They're just getting facts wrong. They don't care what's true and what's not true. And this was, to me, went against everything he would preach about supporting women. And I felt very much disappointed. But you weren't speaking to him, Colleen. The people who made this film were staying silent when especially Blake was getting so much online hate. Justin and I made bouquets. All right, I showed you guys that page about the bouquets. That isn't all they did. They discussed the book, the main points of the movie, all kinds of stuff. They didn't just go make cookies or make bouquets or draw flowers or talk about cookies and horse butts. I was very confused why we were being vilified. And we're not being defended. What would you have wanted Mr. Baldoni to do? Shared the marketing plan, and like, he did. Your name was on it, lady. I know you got a copy. It made it look like we were completely ignoring the subject and we were having fun and playing with flowers. Oh, did it? Did it look like that? Because isn't that what you were doing? Did you do any serious thing with your nail polish? I didn't see anything serious that you did. You want to talk about, well, I was the author. I had a right to get the dailies. I had a right to edit. I had a right to say how I wanted it to be. Well, then why didn't you take that same authorship with the marketing? Why didn't you tell Blake, Blake, we're getting blasted. We need to change our marketing. Instead of sitting around waiting for Justin, who you're not even speaking to come save you for your own missteps. Take some responsibility, lady. You're too old for this. Okay, then here's the Liz Plate conversation, which is really annoying. But you can see here that it's Blake just sorry guys, I didn't highlight this one. It's Blake just talking about how bad everything is. And it looks like at some point they have a phone call because there's no conversation, but then they kind of continue. And Liz seems to know things all of a sudden. So I think there was a phone call in there. But yeah, it's all Blake just telling Liz. It's not Liz telling Blake anything bad's happening. It's Blake telling Liz. And then, why did I have this under Colleen? I don't remember. Sorry, guys. And then Colleen, another person Blake made a fool of, just like Isabella. As soon as you weren't there, she was bad-mouthing you. Jenny goes, Colleen seems a bit frosty to me. Did I do something to upset her? And then she's responding. Blake's first response is to something that Jenny had said before that. And so that's why it doesn't look like it matches up, because they were texting at the same time. So that's the way it came out. But that whole scene where she's just saying, I love you, and they take the flashback out so Blake can just do that. It's from her mom's experience that stuck with her. So she put that in there. And anyway, that's why that scene was so bad. But her response to Jenny about Colleen is that's her personality, which is why I was always so disconnected from her and spooked by her. Oh, really? Because we saw a lot of lovey-dovey word salad garbage coming from you to Colleen. And your hands all over her as well every time you were in public together. But look at how she really felt about you, Colleen. Don't you feel dumb now? Because Justin would have never and has never done this to you. Even after you betrayed him, he didn't do this to you. Good choice, lady. So she's disconnected and spooked, even though she reached out to me to come. So Colleen's the one who reached out to her to be involved in the editing. Thank you, Opinion Below. Sorry, guys, this is so long. There's really so much. I didn't want to cut this into two because it's 7 different people, so I wanted it to be all in one. And then 2 days later, after saying that about her, then she's talking to Colleen and she's like, and then you showed up. And I use the word showed up because you didn't just email me, you showed up literally, physically, emotionally, creatively. And there you were, bringing the best, most happy ending to this hellscape. So thank you. Yours is the opinion I care about in this film because you are the author, but also because you know your audience better than anyone. I know your value and I feel you know mine. Ultimately, we all do our best when we feel seen. So thank you for this note, for showing up, for the gift of this story. It's been life changing for worse, and now finally it's starting to feel for better. All right, get your vomit bags out, guys. Then Colleen gives her some word salad love, and she goes, swap every you for we. This is us. It starts right here with you and me. It ends with us. I couldn't love or appreciate you more. Can I gag now? Can I just gag? Crazy Eyes Claire. Claire had similar experiences with Baldoni on her set. Not this set, nothing to do with this set. She declared under oath, and she lied under oath, that Baldoni was verbally abusive toward her, prompting her to bar him from set and refuse to do press with him in August 2024. She was also a percipient witness to statements by Sarowitz when she illegally recorded him without his knowledge, threatening to target Lively and her husband. Really? We'll see. Which plainly bears on Wayfarer, and it ends with us. Retaliatory motive. Really? Steve Sarowitz wasn't part of this anymore by this point. Okay, those eyes are freaking me out. Oh my gosh, Claire, put those eyes away. Put them away. Claire was also not deposed. And they're still trying to sneak her in. They came up with this big story in the actual documents of what Claire was going to bring, what she was going to prove. And so everybody was waiting. And again, shout out to Clark and to Carol again for Clark retrieving it and Carol putting it up so we could all listen to it and we could all read the transcript. And it turned out not to be, in fact, what she claimed it was. Here's Jamie, because she wasn't deposed, so we don't, Claire wasn't deposed, so we don't have a deposition for her, but we have what happened with her. Jamie says Justin told Miss Ayub she had to keep her movie within a budget or Wayfarer wasn't going to fund it. Were you in the meeting that Mr. Baldoni described? I was. There were 10, 12 others as well. So there's plenty of witnesses to this. Claire, at this point, had frustrations with her contract because we had essentially greenlit the movie at around $2 million. As oftentimes budgets grow, this got to be about $3 million. And we saw the benefit of raising the budget up so that the movie could be well made. It kept growing. It got to the point where now P&G, where Mr. Baldoni's recollection is wrong, was that P&G came in after we'd already been involved in developing this. They then liked the project and wanted to contribute some money, about $1 million. So that allowed the budget to go up to 4. And then we got to 5. And in order to include P&G in the actual production and give them a percentage, we had to give up some of ours and Claire had to give up some of hers. And she did not want to. And she thought it should be all ours. We had a bit of a discussion to try to get there. She was not happy that she had to give up some of her percentage. Again, motive for why you dislike this man. Now we have the transcript. of this that was supposed to be such they blasted this all over. Do you guys remember? It was all over the media about these threats. It was supposed to be this huge reveal. Everybody's like, "Bring it on. What is it? I never said that." Here's what Steve Sarowitz said. After they have this, and if you haven't seen it, go to docketupdates.com, Carol's website. You can see the whole transcript and you can listen to it. So they have this she acted like she was so shaken and so afraid to make this phone call, and that's why she recorded it illegally. They had this very friendly, very supportive conversation with each other. It was long. Look at this. We're at 25 minutes. Thanks, Christina, for putting the link in there. What does he say? She says, it's going to be protecting the studio, right? He says, I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done, minimum. And so not dead, and she says, I know, but that's not what she goes and runs and tells Blake. He says, you know, dead, you're dead to me. And she repeats it back. You're dead to me. He's talking about protecting his studio. And this is hyperbole. This is the kind of stuff people do. He never says 100 million. And Don't F with Justice she did a video about that 100 million because we were talking about it on a live with Bocce and stuff about why does that 100 million keep coming up? Because it doesn't even sound like what a billionaire would say. If they're gonna, that's not a lot of money to a billionaire. And it's like, where does this keep coming up? And then she found quotes of Ryan using that all the time. But it's really interesting. If you haven't seen it yet, go check her out. Don't F with Justice here on YouTube. And she kind of does like a little deep dive into some of this stuff that was really interesting. But that was their whole big deal from Claire. And they just want to put that in there to prejudice the jury. And now we have the butt grabber, Liz Plank. Talk about sexual harassment. You better believe some woman comes dancing up to my husband and grabs his butt. She's going to find herself on the ground. I've never hit anybody, but better believe I would. So Plank warned Lively about Baldoni before filming, describing her own experience working with him as one of the worst days of her life. That's in quotes. She worked for him for 4 years. She didn't work for him for 1 day. And again, take out your magnifying glasses because I couldn't find it. Help me out if I missed it. Informing Lively's subjective belief that Wayfarer and It Ends With Us treated women differently than men at work. Lively discussed her experiences with Plank contemporaneously, describing set as HR nuts. But it was all just Blake telling Liz, who was not deposed. So what are you talking about? What can Liz can get up there and say, yeah, Blake told me this stuff? And look at what she says. Based on what you've told me, sounds so nuts. I'm so sorry you have to deal with it. And then Blake, that's where she says it's like HR nuts today, the both of them. I mean, it's been present, but today I came home and cried. Sure you did. It's Ryan is out of town, or I would drag him to set with me tomorrow. But meanwhile, keep having Justin over to your house while your husband's gone, because you called it, I need my people. The next most intimidating person to them and grounding to me is you lucky duck. You got out of my SOS set visit, please. She'd asked her to come to the set. And then Liz is just reacting. What? That's so insane. I'm sorry. I hate knowing you're going through this. None of this is Liz telling her a bad experience that she had. And if there was evidence of that, isn't that what should be here? But it's not. There's her reacting to what Blake is saying. Again, I hate that they're like cornering you like this. It feels so manipulative. So what does Blake say? They're not cornering me. Like she can't admit it. But anyway, they're just being creeps. She says, my blood is boiling. Was there anything in there that Liz related a bad experience at all of harassment or retaliation? Did she say it was one of the worst days of her life? No. What are you talking about, Ezra? Are you drinking the dum-dum juice? And then we already talked about this, that Ezra is not, so far, has not joined the docket in Texas with Jed Wallace. So that is the 7. Flake Lively and the 7 liars. What should we call them? Not one thing about anything they had to say proves retaliation or harassment, which the harassment was already dropped. And this is the best of their best. If this gets dropped, what are they going to do? they're gonna settle. So hopefully we hear more. Something could have happened while I was online, but it's pretty late at night, so I don't think anything would have happened tonight. But are they settling? Are they not settling? Are they still fighting? I think we don't know yet. It's still all a very, very big question. So I guess we'll find out soon. I think this is my longest live ever, but I had done all that research. There was no way to get through it any quicker. I wanted to thoroughly go through all the, because that's what this document is for. I know it's fun to just like grab the exhibits and go looking through them and finding little bits to grab out. But the whole purpose, it's just like with the motion for summary judgment. You have a document that tells the story, and then the exhibits are all inside that document, and that's what they're for. So I like to do it in that order instead of just like running through all of the exhibits and pulling things out of context. I like to take the document and pair it up with the exhibits where they're supposed to be. And that does take much longer, but I do that because that's the way, this is what the judge is supposed to do. He's supposed to take the document just like we did. And I highlighted in blue all of the exhibits. Oops, why are you being weird? I think because it's so long, had so many slides. Not that one, sorry. So like in blue, see exhibit 1, and then it has the Bates stamp. So that's what I do. I go through each paragraph and then look up the exhibit that's supposed to explain what she's saying. And that's the full narrative. And that's what the judge is supposed to look at. Like, okay, this is what she said. She said, Jenny said this. Let me look at this exhibit. Is this what Jenny said? No. Okay. Now I know how to rule on this. So, but when you do it that way, it does take a lot of, this took me 3 full days to prepare. It's just folding through everything, because then once I got to the exhibit, then sometimes I would remember something previously and I have to go look that up because it supported even better. But anyway, I got to get off of this before I go 3 hours, because that is just so super long. Thank you guys so much for staying with me through this. If we still keep going on without any indication of a settlement like actually happening, I'll probably continue to go through this and move on to the next section and just continue to go through till we know for sure, because who knows, if it doesn't work out, the trial is going to be back on. So yeah, but in case I missed some of you guys, I know Ricardo left a while back, but thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin, again. And Kay Bella, thank you. Opinion below. and opinion below. Thank you guys so, so very much. It's been it's been I think you guys were saying it too, you haven't felt good. And it was like such a back and forth because I read stuff how that statement keeps getting twisted, and I get all angry, and then I'm like, stop it. Um, it's not my case, it's the client's case, and if the clients are happy, there's nothing I can say. This isn't Justin's decision. This was settled upon by Tag. This was settled upon by Wayfarer, and it ends with Us Movie. It's a group of people, so it didn't just lay in the hands of Justin. So it's you just got to keep telling yourself things back and forth, back and forth. And the other thing is that even if it went to trial, no matter what, they're gonna spin things how they're gonna spin them. There are certain people that Blake herself could walk up and say, "I lied," and they're still gonna defend her. So, it's just the nature of society. So this backlash, things are gonna be twisted no matter what happens. And like, Brian Friedman said on the Hot Mics interview, he said that Justin is gonna tell his story. So that's gonna be great. And if it goes to trial, there may not be um, a way to muzzle Blake and Ryan about what they can and can't say going out. So there are pluses and or pros and cons to either way. It's just it's hard to take, it really is. I think because we weren't expecting it and it came as such a shock, we had no warning. It didn't happen immediately after because they met for a second time and for a settlement conference, and they walked away saying, "We're not settling." And then people were hiring more attorneys, and so it was just I think it just, like, took the wind out of us. So it was really weird. We weren't ready for it, but anyway, yeah, that's what Brian had said, and that was a really good point. A non-disparagement agreement would only come from settlement. The jury's not gonna make them not talk about it, but yeah, so let's see what tomorrow brings or what Friday brings, because Friday's supposed to be a hearing. And are they going to do that if they haven't settled yet? I think they kind of have to, just in case nothing comes of the settlement talks. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks again. It was nice to be back with you. It's not over yet. We still got time together. Anyway, have a great night. Thank you, Christina, and thank you, Jane. Jane was here earlier.